Let's begin, friends. In the name of our loving God, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Lord be with you. Thank you. Just invite you to relax. Take a deep breath. Drop your shoulders. Just feel God's presence here with you. Know that God is surrounding you. Let God's Spirit just fill you. Whatever it is that you need from God, you're worried about, just let God have that and know that all is well. May our loving God have mercy on us, forgive us our sins, and lead us to everlasting life. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. God, we love you so much. Thank you for waking us up this morning, for providing such a beautiful earth that continues to care for us. We ask you to fill our hearts with your light, your love, and your wisdom as we listen to the word of God. We pray through Christ our Lord. You may be seated. This morning, our reader is Sue Becker, and our signer is Sue. So every year we have guest speakers for celebrating Earth Day. And this morning we have a couple, Maggie and Darryl Odhner. Maggie and Darryl have been parishioners for 5 years. They are members of the Mother Earth community. Darryl works at the New York Department of Labor in the Occupational Health and Safety Department. Maggie is a nurse practitioner, and she works for the U of R Medical Center. They have been married for 34 years. They are the parents of 3 beautiful daughters. And the Mother Earth community has helped us to fall in love with our earth over the years. They've helped us as a community begin composting. They've taken us for 5 a.m. sunrise walks to appreciate the beauty of our earth. We've done bird watching. We've done all kinds of amazing things to just deepen the love that we have for the earth so that we better care for it. But the most amazing fact is that I just adore them. And so they're going to help us to deepen our love for our planet. So help me welcome Maggie and Darryl Odhner.
Good morning. First reading is a reading from the Acts of the Apostles. Many signs and wonders were done among the people at the hands of the apostles. They were all together in Solomon's portico. None of the others dared to join them, but the people esteemed them. Yet more than ever, believers in the Lord, great numbers of men and women were added to them. Thus they even carried the sick out into the streets and laid them on cots and mats, so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on one or another of them. A large number of people from the towns in the vicinity of Jerusalem also gathered. They brought in the sick and those disturbed by unclean spirits, and they were all cured. The word of God. The psalm response is, "Give thanks, for God's love is everlasting." Give thanks, for God's love is everlasting. Let the house of Israel say, God's mercy endures forever. Let the house of Aaron say, God's mercy endures forever. Let those who revere God say, God's mercy endures forever. Give thanks, for God's love is everlasting. I was hard-pressed and was falling, but God helped me. My strength and my courage is the Lord, and God has been my Savior. The joyful shout of victory in the tents of the just. Give thanks, for God's love is everlasting. The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. By the Lord has this been done. It is wonderful in our eyes. This is the day that God has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. Give thanks, for God's love is everlasting. The second reading is a reading from the book of Revelation. I, John, your brother, who share with you the distress, the inheritance, and the endurance we have in Jesus, found myself on the island called Patmos, because I proclaimed God's word and gave testimony to Jesus. I was caught up in the Spirit on the Sabbath and heard behind me a voice as loud as a trumpet, which said, "Write on a scroll what you see." Then I turned to see whose voice it was that spoke to me. And when I turned, I saw 7 gold lampstands, and in the midst of the lampstands, one like a son of humanity, wearing an ankle-length robe, encircled with a gold sash. Seeing this heavenly vision, I fell to the ground as though dead. But the Holy One laid a hand upon me and said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, the one who lives. Once I was dead, but now I am alive forever and ever. I hold the keys to death and the netherworld. Write down, therefore, what you have seen and what is happening and what will happen afterwards." The word of God.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. On the evening of the first day of the week, when the doors were locked, where the disciples had gathered out of fear, Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And when he had said this, he breathed onto them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. Whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained." Thomas, called Didymus, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples said to him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my fingers into the nail marks, and put my hand to his side, I do not believe." Now a week later, his disciples were again inside, and Thomas was with them. Jesus came, although the doors were locked, and stood in their midst and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands, and bring your hand and put it to my side, and do not be unbelieving, but believe." Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you come to believe because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed." Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples that are not written in this book, but these are written that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that through this belief you may have life in his name. The Gospel of the Lord. It is both a pleasure and an honor to address you today on this 49th anniversary of Earth Day. Earth Day was founded in the United States by Senator Gaylord Nelson from Wisconsin in 1970. It is now observed in 192 countries and is the largest civic event across the world, with over 1 million participating in different events across cities. 1970 was also the year the Environmental Protection Agency was established. Our intent this morning is to inspire you to care more deeply about our planet and to share with you our passion for protecting and preserving the earth. I grew up in the 70s when the Keep America Beautiful campaign was launched. There was a very popular commercial some of you may remember referred to as the Crying Indian. This TV commercial depicted a Native American paddling his canoe by a huge industrial plant that was spewing toxic gases, and when he brings his canoe ashore, there's trash strewn about. This was an effective commercial and impressed upon me that pollution was a significant problem. Also in the 70s, there was the oil crisis, and I remember my parents having a hard time paying the heating bills in those winter months. This again impressed upon me the importance of protecting and preserving our natural resources. One of my high school teachers established a club called the PET Project, which was an acronym for Protect the Environment of Tully, the rural community where I grew up. Every Saturday, we would join together at the town garage and collect recyclable newspapers and glass. We'd separate the glass into green, brown, and clear, put on safety goggles, and crush it by hand. Our teacher would bring soda and hot dogs to grill for lunch, and we banded together for a single cause, to protect and preserve the environment. This experience embedded in me the value of doing something for the community and doing something for the earth. In our senior year, one of my girlfriends in the PET projects painted a 12-foot high mural of William Martson's superhero character, Wonder Woman. This was a powerful image for me, and it strengthened my conviction that protecting and preserving the earth was important, and that I could do something as a woman. I could make a difference as a woman. So I'm convinced that a person's convictions motivate individual actions, and I think that one has to have a deep belief that what he or she does has impact, no matter how simple or small the act. I believe our Mother Earth needs us to protect, preserve, and respect her, but my passion for the environment is rooted in the beauty I see every day. When I awake in the morning, and often before I retire in the evening, I look up at the sky. I do this because I'm deeply inspired by the vastness of the earth. I'm continually in awe of the beauty of the light and reflections of the sunrise and sunset, and the textures and shapes of the clouds. I'm mystified by the stars, the moonlight, and the darkness of night. And when I walk barefoot in the morning, I feel connectedness to the earth as the dew awakens my senses. I've stood at the shores of the ocean and felt its power and pondered the diversity of the marine life, and I've walked through the woods and felt surrounded by the peaceful strength of trees. I'm grateful for each new day, another rotation of the planet, and I know that the planet is a single thing that connects all living beings. It is truly the common ground we share with all humanity, crossing cultural, socioeconomic, ethnic, and religious divides. I believe that the earth needs our commitment to addressing climate change, and there's power in believing that we can make a difference to protect and preserve the earth. This is illustrated by a story of the starfish some of you may know, and it goes like this. There are thousands of starfish washed upon the ocean shore, and there's a child taking one starfish at a time and painstakingly throwing it back into the ocean. And a man approaches the child and says, "What are you doing? Can't you possibly see there are thousands of starfish on this ocean front? You can't possibly make a difference." And the child picks up one starfish, tosses it back into the ocean, and says, "Well, I made a difference to that one." This story is an example of the power of the individual, but my husband and I attended a drawdown workshop sponsored by the church several months ago, and we learned about the 4 levels of action described by Will Grant for effecting positive environmental change. The first level starts with the individual. The second level of action is friends and family. The third level of action is working with communities, such as local institutions like churches, schools, and municipalities. The fourth level is the state or national policy, working with government, such as contacting your congressperson. Will Grant states that the greatest impact we can make is at the third level, the community level. We are more effective together. And a marvelous example of that was a news story that appeared in the recent edition of the Democrat and Chronicle about a group of volunteers south of here who collaborated to assist salamanders crossing West Lake Road in Honeoye. There's an annual migration of spotted salamanders from the hills down to the lake, that travel from the hills down to the lake in mid-March. And the salamanders migrate to lay their eggs. John Bateman has organized this event for the past 10 years to help the salamanders make it across the highway without being run over by the cars. And this year they saved over 4,000 salamanders.
We read recently of another account of people working together to save migrating salamanders in central New York. This operation to help salamanders there is also an annual tradition. The account was written in a book by a woman named Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. Dr. Kimmerer is an ecologist and indigenous American. At the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry, she has been designated a distinguished teaching professor and been appointed as director of the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment. In her books and speaking engagements, Dr. Kimmerer shares how she is able to reconcile scientific thinking with what she calls indigenous wisdom of her ancestors. She has given talks here at the nearby Ganondigan Center. I might mention that when we tried to sign up for that, we couldn't because it was sold out. So I think she has already become a popular person, even locally. She speaks comfortably with sophistication about either science, but also indigenous wisdom. Our Western culture has reinforced a notion of human superiority by which we relegate the rest of creation, plants, animals, rivers, mountains, etc., to the status of mere resources with little moral consideration or respect. As we probably have learned, some other human societies, particularly indigenous or native cultures, hold more respectful views toward nature. Our Western cultural view has been that indigenous societies are primitive, unsophisticated, and ignorant to the extent that they honor the earth, animals, and plants. Indigenous wisdom consists of principles and attitudes that have been developed over thousands of years by native or indigenous peoples. Some of these principles I could describe in my own words include the following. Plants and animals and other entities in creation are sovereign entities, not merely objects to be owned and exploited. Things we get from plants, animals, rivers, the land, are not so much resources, but rather they are gifts. Every entity in creation has gifts to offer, but along with gifts comes responsibility, so that, for example, the birds have the gift of song, but also the duty to share their songs with the world. When we take or harvest things from the natural environment, we should ask permission, take only what we need, leave some for others, harvest in a way that minimizes harm, never waste, use gifts from nature respectfully, share, give thanks, and give a gift of reciprocity for what you have taken. These principles may seem foreign to our Western human-centered thinking and traditions, but by recognizing the dignity of other entities in the natural world, and by including all of creation within our sphere of moral consideration, I suggest that our sense of wonder and appreciation for divine creation can grow, which can foster in us more reverence and joy and enhance our faith. The beloved St. Francis of Assisi is well known for holding similar sentiments for respect of nature. In 1979, Pope John Paul II declared St. Francis the patron saint of ecology. And during World Environment Day in 1982, said that St. Francis's love and care for creation was a challenge for contemporary Catholics and a reminder that we should assume responsibility for nature, taking all care so that everything stays healthy and integrated, so as to offer a welcoming and friendly environment even to those who succeed us. The same Pope later wrote that St. Francis offers Christians an example of genuine and deep respect for the integrity of creation. It is said that St. Francis believed that nature itself was the mirror of God, and he called all creatures his brothers and sisters. In his Canticle of the Creatures, he mentioned the brother sun and sister moon. I have to share an example of my own personal delights with the natural world, among really many. My daily encounter with the songbirds in our backyard and on other excursions. I count these little feathered beings as among my friends. On even the coldest of winter mornings, and I just don't know how they make it through some of those nights still, the cheerful presence of the little chickadees, nuthatches, goldfinches, and cardinals is a welcome reminder to me to be positive and thankful for a new day. It is so clear to me that they have personality and joy. I believe my wife shares this sentiment, as she is the one who, even at the risk of being late for work, makes sure that there is enough bird seed on those winter mornings. My wife bought a little book some years back at the Ganondigan Center called The Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving Address, Greetings to the Natural World. The book contains a series of separate tributes, thankful tributes, to the different participants in nature, including but not limited to the people, the earth mother, the waters, the fish, plants, animals, winds. Sometimes I imagine it's kind of hard to be thankful for wind out here in Western New York, but they've managed to find reason to thank the winds. Sun, Grandmother Moon, and the Creator. Haudenosaunee tradition teaches us that peace requires gratitude and that we are to be thankful for the living world. Our relationship to the earth is the basis of our sustenance and our peacefulness. Our Mother Earth connects us to a perpetual process of creation, and she continues to provide us all we need to be happy and healthy. We would like to finish by reciting several of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving addresses. The addresses have a kind of a congregational refrain, which we welcome you to join us in. The refrain is, "Now our minds are one."
The trees. We turn our thoughts to the trees. The earth has many families of trees who have their own instructions and uses. Some provide us with shelter and shade, others with fruit, beauty, and other useful things. Many people of the world see the tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree of life. Now our minds are one.
The Earth Mother. We are all thankful to our Mother, the Earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one.
And lastly, the Creator. Now we turn our thoughts to the Creator, the Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on this Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greetings and thanks to the Creator. Now our minds are one. Thank you.
to make